There is nothing wrong with you if you get help for your marriage, except that maybe you should have done it sooner. You would have hurt less. You would have been able to solve things with your partner a lot sooner, and you would have been happier sooner. Our kids are learning how to be in a relationship by what they see us do and what they don't see us do. Just like how we learned from our parents, they're also soaking that in. So they're learning how to communicate. They're learning how to be a partner. They're learning what to accept and not accept, how they're treated, how they're spoken to, all of that. So if you are motivated to do things to help your child, this can be another thing. But in the end, it will help everyone.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life in marriage? Let's dive in.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. This episode is about when to work with a marriage professional. So I'm going to be giving you a breakdown so that you can figure out whether it's time for you to reach out to a marriage professional so you can start creating the marriage and partnership and connection that you want with your partner that you haven't been able to do on your own. Okay? The inspiration behind this episode is that the couples that have been reaching out to me lately to learn more about coaching, to sign up to work with me, have been sharing with me how long they've been working on solving their marriage challenges. And the amount of time that they're waiting is not unusual. However, I do wish that it was much, much shorter. Okay? Yes. Please work on your marriage on your own. Please give it your all. But there comes a point where sometimes your all isn't enough. Why? Because simply put, not everyone is a marriage professional. Not everyone has the tools on how to work through things like resentment, like communication breakdowns, like disconnect in their marriage with what they know. Because what you know is based on what you're interested in, what you've been shown growing up. And so if you don't have that baseline knowledge, of course you're not going to know, right? We're not experts at everything. Like if you asked me to fix plumbing, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I would go call a plumber. Okay. And so I wanted to address, first of all, why marriage gets hard, especially after kids, and when it's time to get help and the different kinds of help that you can get. Okay. So we are well aware as parents how much marriage gets impacted once we have kids, right? The time that we have to enjoy each other goes out the window. We are now inundated by responsibility, and it feels like it just grows exponentially overnight. And then you add more kids, right? And so then time to have conversations gets shortened by a lot because it just seems like you are in between things to do. You're all talking about logistics instead of having deep conversations and connecting and enjoying each other. And when we have kids, it becomes very evident when we have communication problems. Because in order for us to have healthy communication, we need sleep and we need tools. And we need to know how to emotionally regulate ourselves. And when we don't have sleep and we don't have the tools and we don't know how to regulate ourselves, and we are put into a situation where that part of us that would have been calm, cool, collected, able to talk things out, becomes a person who is unfiltered, reactive, and finds it difficult to understand the other person's point of view. And so that's where communication breaks down, right? So we've got communication struggles with misunderstandings, defensiveness, shutting down. We've got unmet expectations because it's either not communicated, it's not clear. We just have different definitions of what it means to do something. We've got parenting conflicts. Maybe you were raised differently than your husband was raised, and so you are approaching parenting differently. Then there's lack of intimacy. It is nothing new to parents for intimacy to go down. We are tired. We are not spending as much time with each other, nurturing the marriage. And so connection goes down as well. And the opportunities and the priority of being intimate also fall. And so the emotional and physical connection fade. Then there's financial stress. Kids are expensive, right? So maybe you disagree on where the money should go, how to spend, how much to save, and have different financial goals or lack thereof. Another thing I hear is not feeling appreciated. So one or both partners might feel like what they bring to the table isn't appreciated, isn't valued. And so then they feel kind of invisible in their marriage. And then, of course, there's time, right? Prioritizing kids, work, household stuff, extracurriculars over the relationship, thereby affecting the overall connection in the marriage. And if you've been here for a while, you know that when connection isn't so great, that affects communication as well. Okay, so those are just the common reasons why marriage starts to be really challenged after having kids. And so I want to take some time now to share with you when it's time to get professional help. Like, when do we know it's time versus us continuing to try on our own? Okay, so here are some signs. Recurring issues that don't get resolved. Are you having arguments that you keep repeating? They're just cycling through. And no matter how many times you have this argument, maybe it's like over different things, but the theme is always the same, and you don't get to a real resolution. So it's kind of like you have the fight, you sweep it under the rug, wait till things are okay, and then you're back to normal, and then it comes up again in some other form, and then you do the same thing, right? And so it's this fight that never goes away, and you guys just keep building resentment and frustration and lowering your ability to talk about it as partners because it's old news. It's now this like annoyance that you can't get rid of, and yet it still keeps coming up, right? Another sign is a lack of emotional connection. So you feel more like roommates rather than partners. You feel more like, yeah, we're just in it for the kids. We don't hang out with each other very much. We only know how to hang out with each other when the kids are there, therefore using the kids as a buffer. And so there's nothing really going on romance-wise outside of your family relationship. Another sign is communication breakdown. Do your conversations quickly escalate into fights? Or do you guys avoid having hard conversations? Another one is resentment. Are one or both of you holding on to something that has hurt you in the past and you haven't been able to let it go, and it's now affecting your desire and motivation to do something nice for your partner, how you communicate with them, how you interact with them on a daily basis? Of course, parenting conflicts. Are you having major disagreements on parenting styles? This can cause a lot of friction because you're not in alignment. And then there's loss of intimacy. Same as the lack of emotional connection. If your physical intimacy is diminished, then there's a sign that other things are going on, because physical intimacy is a byproduct of all the work that you put into your relationship. And so if that work that you're putting in isn't working, then naturally physical intimacy will decline as well. And of course, the obvious one, are you considering separating or divorce? That is a big sign. On average, couples wait 6 years to work with a marriage professional about one or some of the challenges that I shared. And that's only the people who actually come to the decision of working with a professional. There's also people who decide to just deal with the issues that they face and pretend it doesn't bother them or just accept it. And then there's couples who decide that they've done everything they can and now it's time for them to get divorced or to separate without realizing that their marriage could actually benefit from working with a professional. Okay. So this is parenthood, right? Us noticing that our kids need help with something, whether it's a behavioral issue, whether it's school, whether it's a health issue, we get them help immediately. We don't wait a long time because we want what's best for them. But as parents, we often delay getting support for ourselves, whether it's us giving ourselves time for self-care or going to see the doctor or getting support for marriage. And so I want you to imagine what you would say to your kids if they're having trouble with their marriage. Would you tell them to wait a whole 6 years to get the help that they need because they need to keep trying on their own? No, you'd be like, well, what you're doing is not working so far. You got to where you are, which is great, some progress made. And if it's not where you want it to be, go get some help. And I understand that some couples don't because maybe they're embarrassed for getting help with their marriage. And I want to tell you, it is absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about, okay? Because if you step back, it's not like you formally learned how to be in a relationship with someone. You learn by observation and you learn by trial and error. Whatever your parents did in their marriage, that's likely what you're doing. You're doing some version of what they had. And then, of course, you had your own relationships. And so you've picked up some habits along the way. But here's the thing. If we wait 6 years, it's kind of like if you keep doing the same thing over time, over repetition, that thing is going to become harder to change because it's now a habit that you have. And so if you're having communication problems and you wait a long time to solve it, guess what? Both of you are building that strength of how you currently do things. So if how you currently do things is not how you want to continue doing things, then I urge you to get over your pride and get the help that you need, okay? The beautiful thing with working with a professional is that they get to tell you where your blind spots are because they're not you. There are no excuses holding them back. They're just sharing what works. They're sharing what they're observing, and they're sharing support and guidance along the way. And so just like any other professional you would call for help, like whether it's a general contractor to redo your bathroom, getting help for your marriage is no different. There is nothing wrong with you if you get help for your marriage, except that maybe you should have done it sooner. You would have hurt less. You would have been able to solve things with your partner a lot sooner, and you would have been happier sooner. Okay? Here's the thing. Our kids are learning how to be in a relationship by what they see us do and what they don't see us do. Just like how we learned from our parents, they're also soaking that in. So they're learning how to communicate. They're learning how to be a partner. They're learning what to accept and not accept. So how they're treated, how they're spoken to, all of that. And so if you are motivated to do things to help your child, this can be another thing. But in the end, it will help everyone. Okay? So let's talk about the difference between who to see, right? What are the different ways that you can get help from a marriage professional? So there's the traditional route, which is the marriage counselor. And then there's the newer approach, which is what I do. And that's to go see a marriage coach. And so I'm going to talk briefly about what situations would call for one or the other and what the differences are when you work with a counselor versus a coach. Okay. So I'm going to start with marriage counseling because that's what most people default to when it comes to needing support for their marriage. Marriage counseling follows the guidelines of therapy. Therapy is ideal for people who have trauma, mental health issues, and have deep emotional wounds that are impacting their relationship. So things also that fall into therapy is addiction, infidelity recovery, a breach in trust. Maybe one or both of you are struggling with anxiety, depression, past trauma, or unresolved issues. And then marriage coaching, which is what I do, is for couples who want to strengthen their relationship and improve communication skills. And so those people who are stuck in patterns of unhealthy communication or not nurturing their marriage and having a hard time prioritizing their marriage because of life, because of being parents, but they're ready to take action towards positive change. Or when a relationship just needs guidance and new strategies and accountability. That's what a marriage coach is for. So couples that are needing support navigating their marriage and family life proactively, and maybe there's been some issues that have come up, but it has nothing to do with mental health or trauma or deep emotional wounds. Okay. So here are the key differences when working with a therapist or counselor versus a marriage coach. Okay. So a marriage counselor will focus on healing past wounds. So you're going to be talking about the past a lot, getting the support that you need to resolve your past traumas, your mental health struggles. And they follow the methods of therapy and psychological frameworks. And the goal is for emotional recovery so that you feel healthier to be yourself in the relationship without your past haunting your present. Okay. With coaching, it's all about strengthening and growing. So there's a lot of goal setting. There's a lot of learning strategy and tools on how to improve things like communication, teamwork, connection. Okay. And the methods used in coaching can vary because there's a lot of different things out there, like general life coaching, right? Supporting you in building the life that you want so that you can work together to create that vision of your life as a couple, as a family, as individuals. So there's a lot of goal setting, there's strategy. So while things about the past might come up, there is no deep dive into what went on to solve that. It's more of, okay, let's notice how it's impacting you today and how we can shift your perspective on how to work with what has happened in your past and how it's affecting you and mold it so that it can support your future rather than in the therapy route, which is to help heal from it. Okay. So there's a lot of action-oriented things related to coaching, and it's all about continuous improvement, growth mindset, and all that. And sometimes there is some overlap between the two, which is why it can get confusing on what the differences are. But just know that there are differences, and how you can decide is based on what you are dealing with in your marriage. So if your marriage feels like it is broken, it is painful and weighed down by past wounds, go see a counselor. If you feel like your marriage is stuck with unhealthy patterns and needs guidance to move forward, then it's time to work with a marriage coach. Okay. So I want to encourage you, if you are struggling with something in your marriage right now, take time to figure out what those issues are and what kind of help would be best suited for your marriage. Okay? There is nothing wrong with getting help. You get help with lots of things, right? You go to a yoga class and you get help from a yoga teacher. You maybe send your kid to therapy. You work with a mechanic to fix your car. we're constantly getting the help of other people. And this is no different. There is nothing wrong with you. This is all stuff that you don't know, and it's okay. So let the professionals who do know support you in reaching your goals. Your marriage is worth investing in, okay? It affects your livelihood, your experience of life. So if you're unhappy and your partner's unhappy, let's do something about that, okay? Because you've got one life, so let's make it count, right? If you're unhappy, go get the support that you need. If you've tried everything that you can do, and after listening to this episode, you're like, I think it's time, go reach out. Go figure out whether you want to work with a counselor or a marriage coach. If it's a marriage coach, I hope you reach out to me. Most professionals will start with a free consultation so that you can get to know them and they can share with you what their thoughts are on what to work on and how they would proceed in their work with you. I offer a free clarity call. And so check out what approach is the best fit for you. And go check out different professionals to see who you connect with most, because that matters a lot too. You're going to be working very closely with this person to help you through your challenges that are very intimate to you. Okay? It's going to require some vulnerability. It's going to require growth. And so I want to make sure that you find the right person for you. So if you are wanting support from a marriage coach and you feel like I'm your person, listening to this podcast is a great way for you to figure that out, by the way. Okay. Then I invite you to schedule a clarity call with me. Let's chat. You can tell me about what's going on. You can tell me about what your goals are for your marriage. And then we could figure out if we're the right fit. Okay. Now, before I let you go, I just want to remind you that what got you here is not going to get you there. Now, what does that mean? How your marriage is today is a result of the things that you two have been doing together. You guys have co-created your current reality for your relationship. And if you continue doing what you've been doing, you will not get to the kind of marriage that you want. Because if doing the things that you do now did create it, you would already have it. And so if you don't already have the marriage that you want, it's time to stop and assess, is there more that I can do on my own? Or is it time to get help from a professional? Okay? Take some time, whether it's your lunch break, on your drive home, talk with a girlfriend, figure it out. And if working with a marriage coach is your next step, book that clarity call with me. Let's have a conversation, and then we'll just take it from there. Okay? Now, in the meantime, if you are in the figuring out phase, I have a free masterclass for you to watch. It's going to help you create more clarity around what kind of marriage you are trying to create so that you can figure out, do we have it? Maybe we don't need support. Or, oh, we are a long ways from there and I have no idea how to get there. Then that's your sign to get support. And then you can figure out, okay, is the counselor the route or is marriage coach the route? Okay? If you have any questions at all, please feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to help you figure out which route is best for your situation. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perda Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.